Hello, everyone, and good morning. Thank you for joining us for this presentation. We have Beth Byron speaking on the value of an elite certified strength and conditioning coach. I'll turn it over to you, Beth.
All right, thank you, Brittany. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, so just bear with me for a moment here as we get that up. And Zoom is not letting me go into my presentation. There we go. All right. All right, can everyone see my slides okay? Wonderful. All right. All right. Well, good morning again, everyone. I hope you all have been enjoying the Sports United conference so far. There have been a lot of really great presentations, and I really appreciate you all giving me some time today just to talk about the importance of having an elite certified strength and conditioning coach, whether you're in a collegiate program or in a professional high performance sports setting. So I'm really excited to talk to you all about that today and to introduce you to the Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association and to talk about our certification, which is the Strength and Conditioning Coach Certified, also known as the SCCC. And first, I want to go ahead and give a huge thank you to the CSCCA Board of Directors, the rest of our executive team, and our office staff for the opportunity of allowing me to come on board as a Chief Science Officer this spring. And it's been a great opportunity for me to be able to give back to a profession that has given me so much. I was a collegiate strength and conditioning coach myself for 18 years and have just learned and grown so much through all of my experiences, the different places that I've been, and especially with the people that I've had the opportunity and the good fortune to work with and learn from. And so just wanted to acknowledge some of that here. I really got started as a college student. I went to Springfield College. I was on the women's swim team there, and I knew that I wanted to work with athletes later in life as a profession. Like, what did I want to do when I grew up, right? Wanted to work with athletes, wasn't really sure what that would look like. Swimming was kind of my sport, but I knew I didn't want to be a swim coach and be on a pool deck all day. And when I learned about I didn't even know what strength and conditioning was really until I got to college, and love the idea of being able to work with a wide variety of athletes of different sports, and not necessarily having to have a niche in a specific sport. Also not being an athletic trainer where you're really working with them when they're injured. So I love the concept of being able to work with athletes, help them train and be able to perform better. And so that's where I really found my path in strength and conditioning, and really got started from there with my first internship at Mike Boyle's in the Boston area where I was from. And then my first collegiate experience, which was, going from a private sector to a collegiate setting, was vastly different at the College of the Holy Cross, working with Jeff Oliver, who was a wonderful mentor of mine. He really taught me so much about showing athletes how much you care, more than how much you know, and really being able to make a positive impact on those athletes and helping them navigate all of the constraints and the different variables that go along with being a collegiate athlete and being able to adapt your program accordingly. So that's really where I got started. And then I had my opportunity that Coach Ron McKeefery gave me at the University of South Florida. First full-time job, 24 years old. Did I really know what I was doing? I had the opportunity to work with 7 teams there at USF, and just learned a tremendous amount. And so really grateful for Coach Mack giving me my first opportunity in that. And from there, I was able to go up to West Virginia University and be a part of Mike Joseph's staff for 10 and a half years. And really was a wonderful staff and a wonderful place to be a part of, being there for so long. And really having great relationships with so many people there today still. I'm really, really grateful for my time there. And then I had the opportunity to go to the University of Texas, working under Donnie Mabe, and also with Chris Plonsky as one of my mentors, and really helping me just kind of navigate some of the higher level collegiate athletic realms of things. And then from there, going on to the Ohio State University, where I was at for the last 4.5 years, and really having elite level leadership model for me there, and coaches Heather Mason, Mickey Marotti, and Coach Claire Quibido. So really, really appreciated my time there in Columbus, and look forward to go back whenever I have the opportunity to do that. And then last but not least, all the student athletes that I've had the opportunity to work with have really impacted me in so many ways. A lot of times as coaches, we're leading and we're guiding and we're teaching, but really the athletes are teaching us too. I've learned something from every single one of them. And so I'm really grateful for all those interactions, all those connections and relationships with my student athletes over the years. And it's fun to reconnect with them, whether you go somewhere and see them or they just reach out to you and send you a text message. So just it's been a very rewarding experience and just one of the best parts of the job, of the profession. So with that being said, the relationship between athletes and their strength coach is really special. It's really unique. That's where a lot of the value is seen, right? But I want to talk about other ways that strength and conditioning coaches really bring value to a program or to a high performance staff. And the first one is the physical and mental development of our athletes. So much of what we're doing is focused on the mental side of training, right? We are there to help push them outside their comfort zone, to get beyond, the threshold of what they're currently doing so that they can do more and be better, right? But there's a big mental component to that, especially when you're working with younger athletes, whether it's collegiate or even high school. Especially when you get to the college, the professional setting, those athletes are there because they're pretty good at their sport, right? They love it. They're comfortable there. They're probably gifted and talented in that area. But when you're talking about strength and conditioning, that might not be their favorite thing. A lot of times your most talented athletes don't really like the weight room or the conditioning or the speed development of things. So we're really having to work with them in a way that is, we're meeting them where they're at, but then also helping them to step outside of their comfort zone and go beyond where they're at. And so there's a lot of mental skills involved with that, whether you're asking them to do one more rep or having to repeat a run because not everyone made it in the time that they were supposed to make it in. There's just so many mental skills that you were teaching them that they can apply in other areas of life and continue to carry that with them. So I think that's one of the biggest values that we can add there. The second piece is mitigating the risk of injuries through sound training programs, right? Anybody can tell someone to do something that's going to be really, really hard and make them tired and wear them out, right? But do you have a sound training program where there's proper and really intentional application to the different training variables that you're giving them, and there's proper time for recovery, and then the optimal adaptation is taking place, so that all of that is coming together on the court, on the field, in the pool, whatever their sport might be, right? So really being able to mitigate the risk of overuse injuries. A lot of the sports that I've worked with over the years, whether it's rowing, swimming, track and field, baseball, softball, pitchers especially, there's a lot of the same movement patterns over and over again and at high volumes and sometimes high intensities, right? And so there's a lot of strain and stress that go onto the soft tissue with that. And so being able to understand the needs of that specific sport and even that specific position a lot of times, and design a training program that you can implement, have your athletes implement and coach them through to build a more robust and resilient athlete. I really like to think of it as you are building an armor from within, right? So that they're not going to break down so easily with overuse injuries, right? And they can go on and show up the next day and the next day and continue to get better and be healthy and be available when it matters most in big championship games and even throughout the entire regular season. And so those sound training programs are really so important and pivotal part of that sports performance model. The third aspect is that we're mentoring athletes on successful lifestyle habits that lead to optimal performance. A lot of our athletes, this might be their very first time really living away from home, doing a lot of things, making a lot of decisions on their own. So we're constantly educating them on, how to properly sleep, manage their time so they can get to sleep on time, nutrition, hydration, different recovery tools and kind of life hacks, if you will, so that they are able to optimize their performance, right? As a strength and conditioning coach, you might have them for 1 hour a day. The sport coaches might have them for another 3 hours that day. But what the athletes are doing the other, 20 to 21 hours in a day, that's really up to them. And so what are some of the tools and the resources that we are giving them so that they're not diminishing their returns with making bad choices about the food that they're consuming, or they're not managing their time well, and so they're staying up late and they're maybe barely getting by on like 5.5, 6 hours of sleep and still trying to show up and perform at a high level the next day, and doing that day in and day out. So being a student athlete, it really is 24/7, 365 commitment. It's a complete lifestyle. It's not a job. It's not just, oh, this is a time management drill. Like, time management is part of that, but really it is a lifestyle. And so we're able to really educate and mentor them on all of those pieces. So the next piece is that we're able to really positively support and influence team culture, right? Team culture can be a big part of the success of any program, any organization. A lot of times we're echoing what the head coach's message is, and encouraging a lot of the athletes that maybe are maybe in a hard place with where they're at on their role in the team. Maybe they're not getting the playing time that they think they should get, or they're not one of the star players, or maybe they're struggling through an injury or an illness and they're not able to do the things that they feel like they should be able to do or typically can do. So a lot of times we are really a good sounding board for them. We're giving them the encouragement that they need. We're kind of meeting them in some of those lower points, and really helping them see what their value is to the team, and helping them understand what their value is, and knowing their value and being able to embrace it and really be a more positive contributor to the rest of the team. And so that has a huge impact on team culture. And, we have the opportunity to walk them through some of those lows and those really high highs with them. And that helps us to really create some of those uncommon bonds with our athletes a lot of times, and really just enhancing what our value is. And then last but not least, there's a lot of pre and post game competition skills that we can teach our athletes, whether it's anything from, an earlier in the morning, a lot of times, like in volleyball, we'll have a serve and pass session. Basketball has a shoot around. We might be doing some mobility work with athletes or doing a lighter warm up with them. Pre-game warm up is a big piece of that. Knowing when to push and pull in some of those competitive game day environments, and just making sure that the athletes are feeling really good physically and mentally and ready to perform at their best, and they're having fun with what they're doing. Also, on the back end of that competition is being able to guide them through some recovery and regeneration modalities and drills, just to help them be ready for the next day. They might be hopping on a plane and flying 6 or 7 hours across to another time zone to go home or go out for wherever their next game is. With all the different conference realignment that's gone on, they're still trying to be student athletes, but the travel that they're doing for their sport has really grown so much. And so a lot of this rejuvenation, regeneration, if you will, and helping them be ready for the next day, whether that's another competition, whether that's getting up early the next morning and still going to class, and then coming up and showing up at practice later that day and being ready for it. So there's a lot of skills and really good hard tools that we're able to give them in that. So introducing to you all the Collegiate Strength and Conditioning Coaches Association. We were founded in the year 2000, and we held our first ever national conference in Salt Lake City, Utah in the spring of 2001. And so this photo that you're seeing here is from that first ever national conference, with over 100 college strength and conditioning coaches present. And prior to this, there really was no organization, no specific space established solely for meeting the unique needs of the college strength and conditioning coach. And so as a result, the CSCCA was founded. They saw the needs and the gaps of what they really were looking for, as far as having some representation, having support, having some niche education opportunities, and really being able to promote the profession and all the work that goes into what they're doing. So, and then in the year 2006, our membership voted to expand our membership body to also include professional strength and conditioning coaches in the professional sports realm. So such as, for example, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, and so forth. And we've continued to grow. And today we're over 1,600 members. And this photo right here was from our most recent national conference in 2024. And this is a picture of our master strength and conditioning coaches. We do a group photo every year. And everyone you're looking at in this picture as a master strength coach, They have their SCCC certification, and they have been in the field for 12 years or more in the collegiate and the professional setting. And this is really distinguishing and acknowledging, their longevity in the field, but also their ability to adapt, as college athletics and professional athletics have really evolved so much in the last 5 to 10 years, even especially collegiate athletics in the last 5 years is so different. And to be able to have longevity in the profession like this, it really requires you to continue to sharpen your own spear, stay educated, not just let opportunities pass you by, but also to be adaptable. And our MSCCs are really our subject matter experts in the industry. They're leaders in our field, they're mentors to younger coaches, and they're also a big part of what we do with our certification. So we have a practical portion to our exam, and our MSCCs serve as raters for our practical exam, which I will talk a little bit more about. But really, they're looking at, we are the subject matter experts, and being able to evaluate, these younger coaches that are sitting for our exam. In addition to this, they're serving on a lot of our committees that are really helping to refine our organization and move us forward. So members of our board of directors, our certification commission, our written exam committee, practical exam committee, our certification expansion committee. So a lot of these individuals are not, they're also serving and they're giving back to the profession and to the organization. And so talking about certification, we're looking at having something a little bit more standardized to the unique demands that are in collegiate and professional athletics, and looking at high performance sport, right? And so why create a certification for this? Well, certification is going to evaluate standards for knowledge, skills, and experience and education. And so we've really seen that in that collegiate and professional training environment, there's a different way that you're, training athletes than you are maybe a client in a general population setting, right? And there's just different demands there, and it's different set of professional skill sets that you have, a different set of knowledge that you have. And so our certification really has done a good job as over the years as we have refined, and we're constantly maintaining our certification exam, that we're able to evaluate the knowledge and skills throughout our exam and some of our other eligibility requirements that we have. So this process really helps to identify who is likely to be a good practitioner. And that's the key thing there, is who's likely to be a good practitioner. We know that the greatest value in any certification is going to come from that certified professional, right? And how they're showing up and doing their job every day, and the art and science that they bring to the table and how they're interacting with people. It's not just about having, this seal or this logo or this certificate piece of paper, but it's showing that you're showing up and you're doing that every single day at the highest level. And the next piece with this here, with our certification that I want to talk about, is accreditation. And not all certifications are going to be accredited. You have some that are not accredited and some that are. And ours is definitely accredited. And I want to take a little bit of time to talk about that and why that's important. So if you can just bear with me on that. We have the National Commission of Certifying Agencies, also known as the NCCA, so not to be confused with the NCAA. And they really are, a high level body of certifications where they are evaluating other certifying organizations. And the value of having accreditation is having an objective third-party organization they've examined us, they've examined our procedures. As I said earlier, our exam is constantly being maintained every single year. We're going through different exam review processes. We are rewriting items to put into our test bank. Those items are being reviewed, and then all of those items get put into a test form, and then that whole test form gets reviewed. Our practical exam committee, every year we're evaluating ways of what do we really need to tweak or improve upon with our practical exam. So there's all sorts of checks and balances in place to make sure that we really are, with our certification, we have a very stable and reliable certification, and it is the best product that we can produce there. And so when we're meeting these stringent standards set by accreditation, it's ensuring that we have a good quality certification, and it enhances our credibility and our legitimacy by being able to say that we have an impartial third-party oversight. And the collegiate strength and conditioning coaches, we want to hold ourselves to a very high standard, and we want to hold anyone that is seeking out our certification to a very high standard. And so therefore we have sought out the NCCA to be our accrediting body, because they're going to hold us to that high standard that we are expecting of others. And the next piece with the importance of our accreditation is that it is aligning with NCAA legislation. And so in 2014, the NCAA passed a bylaw, and it was instituted in August of 2015, stating that every strength and conditioning coach at the Division I level must have a certification through a nationally accredited certifying body. Okay, so which we are. And then in 2016 and 2017, Division II and Division III adopted similar bylaws. And so as it stands today in 2024, across all three divisions, any strength and conditioning coach in an NCAA institution needs to have a certification. And so that's where it's really important when you're looking at job opportunities, right? A lot of times when people might be assessing, do I go study for this exam? Do I go pursue this certification or not? What is it going to bring to me, right? Is it going to give me job opportunities? If I have this on my resume, what's it going to do for me? And so for SCCC certified coaches, you are going to be able to get a job in the NCAA level, because that is part of their legislation requirements. So kind of outlining that and identifying you as a qualified candidate. And next up, we're talking about our certification more specifically and what makes us unique. And we have a holistic 5-pronged approach to our eligibility requirements. It's not just a test. Okay, we're looking at education as being an important piece, and I want to touch on that a little bit more, as that's a little bit newer for us this year. And that was something that was, kind of instated in 2021, and it's gone into effect in August 1st of this year. And there's 5 specific courses that we require now in education, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But education is an important piece to go with that whole puzzle, so that whole holistic approach. And then in addition to your education is that we're looking at your work experience. And if you don't have full-time work experience, which a lot of younger coaches that are graduating college and wanting to get into the field, into the workforce, aren't going to have that. But we have a practicum requirement through our approved mentorship and internship program. And so that's another way of ensuring that our candidates are getting the mentorship and that hands-on real-world experience that they need. We also have health and safety requirements with CPR and AED and first aid, as well as our own health and safety training. And then we have our written exam, pretty standardized. It's a comprehensive science-based exam. You're taking it at a testing center on a computer. And really the education piece kind of helps prepare our candidates quite a bit for that written exam, in addition to other study materials that we have. And then last but not least is our in-person practical exam, which is quite unique. It's not everyone is able to implement something like this, and we've worked very hard over the years to really standardize this and establish it. So our in-person practical exam is really another unique piece for us. As far as job experience requirements, anyone that, as I said earlier, coming out of school, they don't have any years of full-time experience. Anyone with less than 3 years of full-time experience will need to complete a 640-hour practicum with one of our approved mentors. Our approved mentors are certified with us. They understand what the standards are. We have an approved mentor program and handbook, so we have a curriculum that they can follow. So we're really making sure that those candidates are being adequately mentored and prepared, not only for our exam, but also entering the workforce. They're developing not only tactical skills as a coach, but they're also developing those professional skills that they need. And it really sets them up for, having a little bit of a professional network, entering the workforce and helping them be able able to get jobs is another important piece of that. Anyone with 3 or more years of full-time experience, there's no full-on practicum, but they do need to meet with an approved mentor, go through the handbook and the checklist. And again, it's another great professional networking opportunity for those younger coaches as well. And then anyone with 6 or more years of full-time experience, there is no practicum requirement. For education requirements, everything needs to be on an official transcript and worth 3 credit hours or more. The first one is having 2 courses of human anatomy and physiology, so a total of 6 credits in that area. And then exercise physiology, biomechanics or kinesiology, and nutrition. And this holistic education background we see is really, really important to being able to write sound programs and having that knowledge and education that you need in our field. Here are a few images from our practical exams. You'll see our candidates are really having to physically do it, and they're having to orally defend their programs that they're writing, and they're having to stand in front of a panel of, these are all master strength coaches on the other side of the table, and they are evaluating how these candidates are answering questions. They're talking through sound technique and how they would coach athletes through some of the major exercises. So, and then last but not least, that health and safety training, as I mentioned earlier, our health and safety training course is going to cover a very broad range of important factors to consider when you're training athletes. Everything from transitioning them back into training after some time off, whether it was an injury, illness, or maybe an academic break, being aware of exertional heat illnesses, concussions, rhabdomyolysis, a whole broad range of things. So all that to say, with the SCCC certification, you are really getting a holistic and well-prepared strength and conditioning coach that is really going to be able to keep the health and safety of your athletes in the forefront of everything that they're doing, and not just performance enhancement alone. So thank you all so much for your time today. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. I also have my email address up there, our website to learn more, and you can also find us on social media as CSCCA official. So thank you.
Awesome, Beth. Thank you so much. We have about 3 minutes, so I'll give folks an opportunity to put any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. Otherwise, thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Beth, just a funny anecdote. When I was in college, I trained with Mike Boyle as well. It's a small sporting world.
Yeah, it is. Oh, wow. Very good. Where did you go to college?
University of New Hampshire.
Okay. Were you a women's ice hockey athlete?
No, I actually played field hockey.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Small world. Yeah. I grew up in Haverhill, so not very far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. I've been to swim meets at UNH. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's not looking. Thanks for the shout out. Appreciate that. It's not looking like we have any questions. So thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a lovely long weekend.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.